My personal opinion for your company is, if you are still on Windows XP, skip Vista, pass Go, go straight to Windows 7, because as of October 22nd, most all computer companies who are selling new machines will have Windows 7 on board. If you bought a computer after June 30th this year, then you probably got a certificate that allows you to do a free upgrade to Windows 7. Hey, dual release. Will it happen? No, not this time, clearly. Last time they put Vista and Office 2007 out the same day to make IT people like us insane. But now they're actually doing a graduated one, Windows 7 being first in October, and about 6 months later we'll finally see Office 2010. So how much different is it? It's not just Vista with a new number in the middle. It is technically the 7th version of Windows, even that can be construed a little bit. But you will notice it's very Mac-ish. In fact, the best way to show you some of these features is, let's do some of these live. When you open Windows 7, here's what the new desktop looks like. Nothing too dramatic. Yeah, there's some new backgrounds and new features like that, but not too much going on there. When I right-click on the desktop, one thing I like in an educational environment, you can change the screen resolution without going through 8 steps to get there, because I have students constantly swapping computers out and they're trying to see the screen. What I would like to show you here is I've got, let's say, a few items open here, and I do have a very bad habit of having 25 things multitasked at the same time. I'll show you some lightweight features before we get to the good ones here. Let's say this Windows on top is the one I want. I can just take my mouse, and what we're going to actually do is wiggle back and forth right here. And did you see what everything happened in the back? It went away. If you have multiple documents, it just minimizes. And if I go back and forth here, everything comes back on the screen. If I want to take this, I can use Windows Snap. I can pull this to the top of the screen without hitting maximize. It automatically maximizes a document if you leave that feature on, called Windows Snap, if it hits the top of the screen. If I pull it back down, it goes back to the previous size. If I want this to go onto the left side of the screen, I can throw it over to the left side of the screen, and it automatically snaps into place on the left half of the screen. Has some little features there. One feature in the bottom right-hand corner right here, after the date. It's a little hard to see, but does everybody notice there's a rectangle right over here that wasn't there before? That's actually called Windows Peak. And what Windows Peak actually does is, if I hover over the Windows Peak rectangle right there, every window shows me the outline. Why is that helpful? Have you ever opened a new program and you're like, it's supposed to open, hello, and it's way behind something else? You can see what you actually have opened. If I click right there on Windows Peak, everything automatically minimizes, and if I click back on Peak, everything reopens again. What you'll also notice on the taskbar right here is, if I hover over this, of course I can see what, let me open a couple features here. I'll open CVCC, where your future begins. They pay me to say that. Okay. Let's say I have several tabs open. Of course, this also works with Mozilla Firefox and some others. I can just hover over the icon down here on the taskbar, and it shows me every tab or instance of the Internet Explorer or browser I have open. If I just hover over it, it opens it in the background, or hover over the CVCC page. One thing I do really like is I'm right-clicking now on the Internet Explorer task item here. This is actually a new feature called a jump list. It shows my recent history, and I can now just hover over any of these web addresses and it would open that immediately. How often have you gone to a web page and have to go through 17 steps to find the history of where you were yesterday to get back to that site? And now to be able just to go right to it and open it up seems to make sense right there. When you click Start in the bottom left-hand corner, I also, when I first opened it, I said, where's recent items? Look for it. Recent items. I mean, who doesn't use that every day? And I'm like, oh, they took it away. What were they thinking? They came up with something better, and it is better. If I just hover over PowerPoint right here, there's the recent PowerPoints that I've been working on this week. If I hover over Microsoft Word, I don't think I've actually created many Word documents that I've kept, but it shows me what I've actually recently been doing. So I'm able to find where those locations are. So the recent items works much better if you look at it by grouping. They've also finally updated some things. For example, Paint has not been updated as far as I know since what? Windows 3.1? Anybody still remember that? Okay. But now when I actually enter Paint right here for a change, it finally has ribbons. Boy, if you don't like ribbons, boy, the whole world's going against you. They're all changing to this new technology. They even have a downloadable free feature called Paint.net that updates this particular paint to a multi-layer paint. So if you want to do layers and so forth, it actually is now included in this. We not only have updated things, even the calculator finally got a facelift, and it actually can do something. I know this sounds real simple, but let's say I add 6 plus 5 plus 8 plus 9. Is anyone seeing something different occurring? It actually is showing me the history of the numbers I just typed in, 6 plus 5 plus 8. I know that sounds simplistic, but why haven't they done that a decade ago? On the right side here, I have lots of extra features. For example, if I want to find out my monthly payment for a home, maybe you're looking at a $100,000 home in Lynchburg, you put a $10,000 down payment, and we'll have a 15-year mortgage. Let's go with a 5% interest rate. The payments would be $7.11, and they also have good Slurpees. So that'll work out very well there as well. Hey, if you're in any kind of scientific field, you really like this little feature. They actually now have unit conversion. So in other words, if you're trying to get from inches to centimeters or kilograms, to, you know what I mean, all those different conversions now are all built in. Hey, what else is going on here? The next feature I want to show is called the Action Center. A nice little new item right here. I actually turned this off ahead of time so I'd get something to show you. They've taken the 11 different locations in Vista. For example, your restore, your backup screen, your spam, your virus protection, all those different pieces. They were all in different locations before, and now they've put them in one-stop shopping called Action Center. So a little bit easier. If it's in red, you need to deal with it immediately. If it's in yellow, it's a good idea to take care of it soon. So much easier to determine what's happening here. Some of the biggest features of Vista, though, we haven't mentioned. I'm sorry, boy, Vista, here I go. Of Windows 7, we haven't mentioned. Number one, Microsoft has put more effort into compatibility than they ever have before. So the number one feature here, I even pulled up, I found an old Pac-Man game from like 1992, 256 colors. Anybody remember this? And of course, Vista went, you know, it can't run in 256 colors, forget that. This actually has compatibility modes for all those old kind of features. So even if you have something as ancient as that, you're totally back in. Definitely test it with all your products, but look at all the companies who've done benchmarking. They've been very pleased with the wide compatibility stance. Also, we talked about the speed. Some other features of Windows 7 is we're now seeing, let me show you some specifications and all. What does it take to run? How much will it cost? Let me just show you a couple features as we head there. It now has something called adaptive power. Everyone has a cell phone. You know how your cell phone, when you first hit the button, you get this nice bright screen. Okay? You get the nice bright screen, but in about 10 seconds from now, it kind of goes grayish until it finally turns off. Same thing on laptops and tablets with Windows 7. You wouldn't think it would matter that much that when you're not actively using it, it kind of turns that gray in between before it goes into the screensaver. But it does add about 30 minutes to the average battery life. So I've noticed a big difference on this one compared to when it had Vista. And it's not running as intense. My system resources with Vista on this exact same machine were usually, I've got lots on this machine, 70, 72% system resources actively running if I were just doing 3 or 4 things. Now on the same machine, same 3 or 4 items running with Windows 7, I'm in the 24% with system resources.